But millions of people are facing the new Tier 4 restrictions over Christmas. But how severely will they be enforced, and will police officers intervene if they spot members of the public breaking the rules? To answer some of those questions, we're joined now by John Apter, National Chair of the Police Federation of England and Wales. John, good to see you this morning. Well, let's just start with a very general question then. I mean, what do you and your members see as the role of the police in enforcing the Tier 4 restrictions and indeed penalising those who break them?
Morning, Neil. It's really difficult, and ultimately, this is a health crisis. It's not a crime pandemic. It's a pandemic of a virus which is taking far too many lives. So, my colleagues see themselves as trying to prevent the spread of the virus, or to help prevent it, but also ease that pressure off the NHS. Of course, as police officers, there will be an element of enforcement, but from the very start of this pandemic, policing has made it clear, and let's not forget, I represent 130,000 police officers from across England and Wales. So the leadership within policing, the National Chiefs Council, they set the guidance and the rules and the direction. But we've been very supportive of that, because it's not about jumping straight into enforcement, because I think that undermines the relationship that we have with the public, and that's really been tested this year. So going into now Tier 4, which has caused an awful lot of concern and frustration and anger, which my colleagues have to deal with on the streets, our position isn't going to change. We're still going to be educating the public and working with them. But where there are willful breaches of the law, then we will deal with it accordingly.
Can you honestly see your members going into people's homes on Christmas Day and breaking up Christmas dinner?
No. No, let me be really clear. And there's been much hype about this in the media. If police officers are called on Christmas Day to deal with a situation, so let's use an example which happens all the time. A neighbour, well-intended or otherwise, calls the police and says that there is a breach of regulations going on in a next-door neighbour's house. Then the police will assess that. They will see whether it's a priority with everything else that's going on, because let's not forget the other demand, the non-COVID demand, is as busy as ever. We're still answering the 999 calls, we're still answering the burglaries, the assaults, the theft of vehicles. We're still dealing with all of that. So it'll all be about priorities. And police officers are human beings. So I'm working on Christmas Day, and if I get a call where there's 8 people sitting around a dinner table, that will not be a priority for me or my colleagues. But if there's a willful breach which causes a significant health risk, then of course police officers are going to see if they can assist and deal with it. But like everything, police officers use their discretion. And especially on Christmas Day, where emotions will be running high, they will use that discretion more than ever, and rightly so. And if that discretion is taken away, which there's no indication that it is being taken away, then that will be a very dark day for policing in this country.
But, John, as you say, you police with the consent of the public. You have discretion, as regards, well, pretty much, every area of law enforcement. Police have a great deal of discretion, of course. I just wonder, though, given how much attention there is on the tier system at the moment, whether or not you have enough guidance from central government that there is consistency in the way in which this is policed across England. The reason I ask, we spoke to the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, on the programme last week, ahead, of course, of the Tier 4 restrictions. She was talking about policing Tier 3. She said, well, the police should intervene, in the most egregious circumstances. It's a bit difficult to define what is the most egregious circumstance.
Absolutely, Neil. And we talk about guidance. And this is not a criticism, it's just reality. The changes in law over the weekend, my colleagues still haven't received the guidance of what's expected of them. And that's nothing new. Throughout this whole pandemic, the law has been changed very rapidly, very quickly, and the guidance generally comes a few days later. But my colleagues will do what they have been doing. They'll be using their common sense. They'll be striking a sensible balance. And the vast majority of the public have been complying with the rules and regulations. The hardcore minority who don't, and that will be for a number of reasons. There will be many people who are confused by the ever-changing rules, and that's policing. It's part of our role and responsibility to help them through that. Not only the police, it's other agencies as well. But there will be that hardcore who willfully break the rules. They just don't agree with them, whatever they are. And we have to step in and deal with it. But we've also heard, Neil, that there are extra police officers on the streets. Please, I keep saying this, I'm like a broken record. There are no extra police officers. We are struggling to deal with the demand that we have. The extra police officers that are described are being taken from different areas of policing to manage the visibility side of policing, because we want people to see the police, to be reassured by that. And my colleagues are doing the absolute best they can. But let me be clear, there are no extra police officers out and about.
John, I just wonder if you can repeat what you just said. You have not yet received guidance from the government as to Tier 4. I mean, what level of information would you generally expect when there would be changes of this nature, of this magnitude brought in? Because frankly, that screams of a government that is not giving you the tools you need to do your job.
Well, I think, yeah, and that's the reality of it, Neil. The fact is that during this pandemic, the rules and the legislation have changed so rapidly, then the system takes time to catch up. So what will happen, the legislation will change, which it did over the weekend. Now, a lot of people do get confused between the law and guidance. But guidance is not legally enforceable. Guidance is guidance. So police officers will then be given direction of travel, guidance as to how they apply the law. Now, what my colleagues are saying, and I spoke to many certainly over yesterday when the changes have been announced, they'll be applying the same principles that they have throughout this whole pandemic. They will not change fundamentally. The issue that we do have that colleagues got to deal with in some force areas, police force areas, there are multiple layers of tiers. So even in my own force, I work in Hampshire Constabulary. There are 3 or 4 tiers now. We've got the Isle of Wight, which is separated by water, which is a good thing because it makes it easier to police. But you've then got the east side of the county, which is in Tier 4, other parts of the island which are in a different, the county which are in a different tier. It makes it really difficult to police. And also my colleagues as well, they don't want to catch this virus. They don't want to spread this virus. The vaccine is another important issue that we've been lobbying the National Chiefs Council and the government very hard on, to say that police officers should be a priority once the most vulnerable in society and those in the NHS have been taken care of with the vaccine. But police officers need to be in the front of that queue with the vaccine as well. First of all, to protect them, but also to protect the public.
John, I'm so sorry. We are just out of time. We'll have to leave it there. We will no doubt speak again in the very near future. Good luck on Christmas Day. John Apter, many thanks for being with us.